No, I know I play a cop and technically, I guess, a detective, but no, I'm terrible. I watch tons of TV, but still, the big twist is always like, well, that was a surprise. I'll never, no, I hadn't figured it out.
Jonathan, writing for movies in Sweden.
Hi, Jonathan. How are you?
I'm doing great, especially now when I get to speak with you, of course.
I like your corner. There's like, wow, this is a cool setup you've got. Is that yeah?
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. I love all
Yeah,
your like,
it,
bobbleheads. Yeah.
it's kind of my shrine of people I've talked to. So now after this, you qualify. You just have to get one of these made
Yeah,
up to
yeah,
yourself, and I
yeah.
can buy it.
I'll commission the factory, and I'm sure they'll send you one. That's yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
thanks. So, speaking about cool, having to shoot a show like True Detective and having like the biggest one of the biggest both directors and actors working alongside with you. How has that been? That experience for you as an
I,
actor?
I mean, it's been amazing. I would do it again in a heartbeat. I think it's not without its like pressures and it's not without kind of it's still difficult and but I think just because they are so lovely that it becomes a much more relaxing experience, you know. I think
Yeah.
you hear horror stories about like movie stars being like terrible people, and the thing is it just wasn't the case with Jodie and John and the rest of the cast. They're all really lovely. And as a result, it becomes a lot easier to kind of learn from them. You know, you relax and then you learn.
Yeah. And I was thinking also that since Jodie Foster both has experience in front of and behind the camera, uh, was she able to give you any pointers? Like, I guess she understands both sides of the making of everything like this.
Yeah,
Did you get to learn any of that from her as well?
I think yes, in terms of like observing her and the way she works and kind of like how her mind works and that she can kind of see how things look when they're cut together. Yes, I learned that, but she would never infringe on my kind of process per se. She would never come up to me and say maybe you should do it like this because that was Issa's job. You know, Issa was my director.
Yeah, yeah,
No, Jodie's very like respectful in that way. And you know, when I'd be like, have you got like any tips and tricks? She'd be like, I don't know, man. Like you know, like but you just kind of you watch and you learn. I think with Jodie.
yeah. And I know that like I'm going to release our talk after the finale has aired, so you don't have to be afraid of spoiling anything.
Yes.
But obviously, one of the biggest things during this season is your scene in the penultimate episode that just aired this weekend, where your character actually kills his father.
Yeah.
How how did you react when you actually got to that part in the script and you realized that that's where your character were going down?
Yeah, it's really sad, isn't it? Because you know you kind of you read like episode one, and you're like, oh, Peter's a really sweet guy, you know. And then because this is True Detective and this is how kind of these types of mysteries and stories work, you're like, oh, he's not something bad's gonna happen to the poor kid, you know.
Yeah,
Um, but you know, you read and you're like, and you don't quite know what it is, and then this thing happens with Hank, and it's incredibly sad. I think that was what I felt most when I like read it was that I was like, this is incredibly sad, and this is his arc. This is what happens to him. That he for the entirety of the show up until this point has done nothing but try to be a good cop, and then he becomes a crooked cop. He becomes as crooked as his father is in some respects, or how Danvers is in some respects.
Yeah, and I was also thinking how it actually was to the, shoot it, since I know that you were kind of prepping for it, but then you became sick just when you were about to shoot it, right? So you had to kind of go into the preparations again.
Yeah.
So how was it actually to act it out and then watch it with everyone else now when it aired?
It was tough for sure. It's like a real monster scene, you know, like there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah,
Um and beyond the kind of emotions that are kind of at stake and what's at stake, there's also just the technical elements of it. You know, there's a stunt, there's the shoot, there's the firing a gun, there's things like that. Um Rehearsal was what we did to kind of just iron those things out, you know, just make it really you know, approach it slowly and methodically, shoot one by one, you know, each person's coverage, and yeah, that's how we work through it. And of course, it's in some ways just because Joan and Jodie and Issa are just such like wonderful people to work with, and everybody else on the crew. It wasn't as difficult as it seemed on paper. You know, you just those are people who really like understand that it's a tough job and you've got a lot riding on you and you've got to make a really good scene. And yeah, we worked through it slowly and we did it.
yeah, it really paid off, I would say.
Yeah.
uh, so how was it to actually watch it now when it aired? I don't know if you're on social media or anything like that,
Yeah.
but have you seen like how people reacted to that moment? Because it's one of the biggest moments of the entire series.
Yeah. I've seen some things and people have been sending me kind of nice messages on Instagram, which I really appreciate, you know. I've watched it. I'm very proud of the series in its entirety. I really like that scene, even, you know, selfishly because it's like a big moment for Finn. But in terms of just kind of monitoring the reactions and stuff, I am on social media, but I am just trying to not look it up as much as possible, you know, because I think that
It's probably helpful.
well, I think obviously like there's, you know, like with anything there's going to be bad reviews, but then good reviews are not helpful sometimes to you personally as well. While they might like boost your ego, you know, that then you kind of become big-headed about it. And I think it's good just to try and maintain kind of like a neutral a neutral stance on these kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you think that, or how did you react when you found out who actually uh, were the killers
Yeah.
of
uh
the show? Since and again, this won't be released until after the finale has aired.
yeah, yeah.
So
I
stay
loved it.
tuned.
Yeah, I loved it. I was really happy and really satisfied by it. I think it's it's weird because I don't want to say I'm like cheering them on, but they're avenging their friend, and their motives are clear, you know. And I
Yeah.
think that's really satisfying for a TV series. I think these endings are the hardest fucking thing to write, and I think Issa just nailed that one. And I was just so happy and satisfied by that ending. I think it
Had
tied.
you figured it out yourself before you read it, or were you blown away?
No, I know I play a cop and technically, I guess, a detective, but no, I'm terrible. I watch tons of TV, but still, the big twist is always like, well, that was a surprise. I'll never, no, I hadn't figured it out.
So what kind of TV, when you yourself find yourself at home and turn the TV on, what kind of shows do you like to watch yourself?
Anything. My recent favorites. I recently watched Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which is so good. And yeah, have you watched it?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Like I loved that.
Yeah,
I loved um the morning show, I know I slept on that for a little bit. I don't know, man. I really like, I can consume television. And yeah, a whole bunch of things. It's so exciting as well because there are just so many amazing things coming out at the minute. Yeah, it's kind of, obviously it's very exciting to have True Detective come up, but yeah, I'll watch anything.
Yeah. Yeah, Tokyo Vice is my thing right now.
Oh
It's
yeah, yeah,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot for taking your time to speak with me.
Yeah.
It was lovely, and I'm looking forward to speak with you again and on future projects as well.
Amazing.
So
Thank you so much.
so fingers crossed for that.